Hello and welcome to an unexpected podcast. My name is Tim, and with me as always, we have Matt, Mick, and Rainier. Unfortunately, Devin couldn't be with us on this episode. This week's episode, we're going to be going over a list by T. Matt Tiberius. And the main topic for today is we each have a top five of models that we tend to use in lists or try to build into our lists. So we'll hear about that a little bit later. But first, we'll go over to the list from T. Matt. And his list is a 600 point Lurtz Scouts Legendary Legion. It is Lurtz with shield, six Urkai Scouts with shield, one Urkai Scout with banner and Urkai bow, two Urkai Scouts with Urkai bows with an Urkai drummer, Ugluk with two Scouts, five Scouts with shields, one Scout with banner and bow, three Scouts with Urkai bows, and then Mahor with two Urkai Scouts, five Urkai Scouts with shields, one Urkai Scout with bow and banner, and three Scouts with Urkai bows. It's 35 models with 12 bows, three banners, a drum, and 8-inch movement. So if he sounds the drum, he has 11-inch movement. And he says his theory is similar to Khazad-dûm, where you need banners for this legion to work, since he doesn't have spears. He's assigned a banner to each hero because he needs a banner in lieu of the spears. He says his heroes are good for mid-tier heroes, but really only have your heroes for archery. But you really only have your heroes in archery as means of dealing with big heroes. Um, so at 600 points, 35 models, not bad. Um, Obviously, they're fight four, strength four, and if they have a shield, they're defense five. 11-inch movement, I think everybody will agree, is phenomenal when you're out running cavalry models. With the Legendary Legion, you have running through forests, which is always amazing. Those pesky elves can't just hide in there and ruin everything with you. Um, Lurtz is always a very solid hero, especially at 600 points, because he just has the ability to fight with most heroes, unless it's a very large hero. 12 bows, not bad. I know that they are, I believe, what, strength three? Are they 24 inches, not the
Nope,
Uruk?
they're 18-inch strength three.
18-inch strength three. Okay, so not great in terms of distance, but again, you move 11 inches in theory. Um, so you can move, was it 5.5 and still shoot? Um, so that's amazing. Basically you get to move full distance and still shoot. Um, Three banners is the interesting thing about this list. So I get what he's saying because when anybody takes Khazad-dûm, you take King's Champion, which has two banners, and you basically have a 6-inch banner range if you use them effectively. Um, and I don't know if it's overkill. I mean, I like it actually the more I look at it because it allows all three units to split up and still have the same benefit. Um, and I get where he's coming from with that because you don't have any spear support, so you might as well try and get as many dice out of your models as possible. Um, I was surprised with three banners that he was able to get 35 models, but it actually worked out really well. And I actually kind of like this list a lot. But what do you guys think about it?
Yeah,
So go
oh,
ahead. No,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, I like it actually a lot too. Initially, I would say drop one of the banners to kind of bulk up Lurtz's warband a little more to give him more units. But I kind of like you said, like I thought it was overkill at first, but now that I'm looking at it and thinking about it, especially with Lurtz's Maelstrom special ability, now instead you see a lot of times Maelstrom people will kind of use their ability to put all their units in one or all their warbands in one area to take out one of the opponent's warbands. Now with this, you have kind of the luxury of splitting up your warbands wherever you want because they each have a banner and essentially two dice for each per each model. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys are gonna say actually. I like the bow inclusion with the speed because you can do a lot of damage with that. But yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is a correctly designed list for this particular legendary legion. We did talk about this legendary legion in the Quest of the Ring Bearer episode, but basically, this is one where you can take Lurtz, Ugluk, Mahur, and captains, and then a whole bunch of Urukai scouts and nothing else. And I think this is the right way to do it. He's got the three heroes you definitely want in here. You need Mahur to trigger the um, the change from 6 inches to 8 inches and get the woodland creature special rule. So, you have to take Lurtz. You always want to take Mahur to get the special rule, which is kind of the basis for the list. And then Ugluk is kind of the next best guy because he's got March and he's got Strike. So it's the right 3 heroes. He's also maxed out the number of Uruk-hai bows he has, and I think that's the right way to go, especially when you have the drummer and you're moving 11 inches a turn. That means these Uruk-hai bowmen can move 5.5 inches and still shoot. So they're 18-inch. The fact that they only have an 18-inch range doesn't matter all that much because they tend to be shooting while they close, and the strength 3 bows pack a lot of punch. I mean, really, the only question here is, how many banners are the right number? It may be overkill. In some cases, overkill is underrated. I'm stealing that quote from another place, but I think it may apply here. But I guess you just have to do the math, because for each banner you take, you're essentially dropping out 3 Uruk-hai, or slightly less if you're slightly less if you want to give shields to all of them. But it's 25 points. You can buy 2 Uruk-hai and 1 Uruk-hai with a bow, and that does increase your numbers. I mean, I will say I don't think this list needs 3 banners as much as Khazad-dûm does, and that's because, as opposed to Khazad-dûm, where the warrior figures move 5 inches, all the warrior figures here move 8 inches, which means they lap around flanks really well and surround people. So these guys get more of a benefit from numbers than Khazad-dûm does, because they could, swallow 2 rank battle lines whole and start attacking the back rank, which is, better than trying to have complete banners all the way across, I think. But that doesn't mean that banners aren't bad. So I'm not sure this is the wrong way to go. It's just a different way to go.
Yeah, I could probably actually expand on that final point that you just made, Matt, in that looking at this list, I'm just thinking to myself, what is the actual purpose of this Legendary Legion, how it's supposed to be played? So the fact that you move 11 inches with a drum, or just 8 by yourself, as you said, unlike the dwarves, it allows you to really maneuver around the flanks. So each each banner only covers 7 fights. 7? Yeah, 7. So I get this feeling that if you basically increase your numbers by something like 6 or 7 models, which you could do by dropping 2 banners, then you would have more possibilities to actually go around and pick off various spear supports or trap people easier, especially with the woodland creature rule. Like, if let's say you're playing on boards which have a lot of greenery, a lot of forests, then you really can use the advantage of the woodland creature here. And so dwarves just kind of have to have the banners because of how they kind of move. And any difficult terrain that they get into, it's almost like they're stationary. But here I feel like I would just add more models in general. So I would potentially drop 2 banners, and you actually have 7 slots here to fill up your warband still, because Lurtz's warband is on 10, and then Ugluk and Mahur both have 11. So you can add one into Ugluk's, 1 into Mahur's, and then 5 more models to Lurtz. So by dropping 2 drummers, you can get 2 Uruk-hais with bows and 4 without anything, which would then give you 41 models, which at 600 points is really, really high. And you have 13, 14 bows?
He's got 12 now, so if you added 2 more, you have 14.
Actually,
yeah.
Would you? Because if you're adding 6 models, you're on 41 minus the heroes, that's 38. So how are you getting 14? In fact, here.
Does he have too many bows?
Actually, that's a good question.
He has one too many bows, because at 35 models minus 3 heroes, you're on 33.
Oh, you know what?
So
he probably included his heroes into the.
Right.
So no big deal. You just got to take one bow off your list.
Well,
yeah. So then at 600 points with like 41 models and 13 bows, like. I would say in a lot of cases, unless you're playing as rangers or like specifically shooty armies, you can actually almost play this defensively, have them come to you, and like you then just run around them, surround them, and
I was going to say you can kite really well with this army. I mean, this army will never get caught. I might actually, we've had two different votes here. I think Rainier's vote was for keeping all the banners. Your vote was for dropping 2 of the banners. Just to be different, I'll split the difference and say I would probably drop 1 of the banners and get 3 extra figures and plump them in Lurtz's warband just to beef it up a little bit. I guess what it would end up being since we. Yeah, if you could keep the 12 bows if you got like 1 Uruk-hai scout with a shield and 2 regular Uruk-hai scouts and put them in that warband.
Yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. I really like the idea of all 3 having a banner, so then they can all go wherever they want or stay together, kind of a thing. But I do want to add a couple more models to this list, so I think I'm gonna go with the drop banner and add more, like 3 more models, kind of a thing. I think if you were at 38 models at 600 points, I think this looks a lot better, and you still have 2 banners at that point. I get the whole point of adding the maybe getting to like 40 plus models, kind of a thing. I just like the idea of having 2 banners for an army like this. So I think I'd drop 1 banner and add 3 more models.
I think it's just a scary prospect.
Join me on Team Indecision.
So many people. Well, because it's hard. Because like I really, really like the idea of all 3 warbands going and doing whatever they want and having the equal amount of support, kind of a thing. But I really like the idea of bumping up the numbers a lot. So I am Team Indecisive, unfortunately.
Just roll a dice on 1, 2, 3. On 1, 2, you keep the banners. On 3, 4, you drop 1, add 3 models. On 5, 6, you drop 2, you add 6 models.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there's a wrong answer to this question, so that seems to be a
trial and error,
reasonable way to go.
I think you got to try this out as much as possible and try all 3 options and see which one you like the most during games. And it could be that the 3 banners are way more beneficial than dropping 2 for 6 models, or you try dropping any of what we've said and maybe one of those work better. Thank you for your list, T-Matt. And if anybody else has a list, please leave that in the comment section below so we can look for your list for next week as well. We're going to move on to the main topic for today, and we each have picked a top 5 for models in the game specifically, not like a type of model, but specific profile models of what we try to, like our top 5 essential models. And they're models that we tend to try to fit into our lists when going to competitive tournaments. So we'll each start off with our number 5. So I'll start off with the first one. And my number 5 is the Moraine and Warrior. Whenever I write lists, I always tend to go Mordor, not just because they're my favorite army, but I think for 8 to 9 points, when you get a defense 6, front rank, back rank, all have the ability to shield, strength 4 and D6. And
what's the profile, Tim?
It's fight 3, strength 4, D6, courage 2, 7 points bear, 8 with a shield, and then 9 if you go in spear and shield. I don't think they have any other options besides those. I think it's just simply that. Very simple profile, but the benefit of it is you can have, especially in a Mordor, even if you ally them in, you're probably going to have, if you go higher points, let's say 700-800 points, you're going to get 40 plus of these guys. And the brilliance of having 40 plus of these guys is that you don't really care about shooting that much, because even elves don't do anything to you. It's really only Corsairs, Uruk-hai that you kind of have to be worried about because of their strength 4. But anything that isn't strength 4 shooting, you don't have to worry about as much because they just say pew pew and then you just block, with your shield. And they just kind of they're just I think they're one of the best profiles in the game. Obviously, they have their weakness of being fight 3, whereas most things nowadays you want to be around fight 4. But if you can get over that, that's fine because they're there to kind of they're really just there to kind of hold the line and do as much damage as they can. Really, they are the definition to me of hold the line, kill as many things as you can while holding the line. Let your heroes do the other stuff. And the courage 2 is obviously something you have to worry about. But again, with Mordor, you can take a shaman or Kardash, and he can kind of provide the ability to just you can charge into Army of the Dead. You could charge into maybe a hero with terror kind of a thing. So Morannins get my number 5 pick.
Solid pick.
Solid pick. Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with an 8-point strength 4 defense 6 warrior, which is what you get. And so they have fight 3 and they lose the fight, and the guy doesn't roll the 6 he needs to kill them, and they'll be around and win the next one.
Yeah, I always consider Morans to be the sort of like the archetypal middle ground of this game. It's like they're always solid. There's no downsides. There's nothing really great. They're just reliable, solid, and whenever I do any like math calculations of like winning combats or how likely someone is to kill someone, I always go, how likely are they to kill him or an orc? And just always. Well,
because it's such a great, you'll see them a bunch in tournaments, and then also, they do just have that kind of fight 4 or strength 4 D6 that you're always looking to go against.
It's almost like Space Marines, right?
Yeah. They're as close to Uruk-hai as possible, without the courage and the fight 4.
Yeah, and I like the idea of like we talk about their defense a lot, and they don't die, but if you lose a fight to their fight 3, they're going to usually wound you, and that's a scary thing for such a low
strength 4
point. Strength 4, just like dishing out wounds here and there. You lose a fight against them if you're fighting with a Corsair or a D6. Like the guy's probably going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
and that's
on the subject of back rank. I see a lot of people doing front rank Moranons, back rank normal orcs.
Yep, because it's safe for 14 points. Yeah,
that saves you 2 points. But then there's always it's almost sort of up for debate. Should you be putting back rank with strength 4? Because it just kills so much more.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, if you're going up against, let's say, Minas Tirith without the shield wall, or what's another army that's defense 6 in the front rank without, let's say,
Elves.
Elves. Okay.
Rivendell, yeah.
Well, yeah. So let's say you're going up against the High Elves, right? So they're defense 6, and you have your strength 4 in the front. Maybe you go spear behind. I think to only have 1 dice to try and kill, I don't think that's enough personally. I've tried the spear in behind, and you do get more numbers, obviously. But the problem becomes is once they start to kill your front rank, everything starts to go down.
The background drops.
Yeah.
They can be equipped with an axe too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Oof.
For free.
So you can just basically say the entire front rank has axes as their weapon, and because it is an option to them.
Come up against D7 like Khazad or something like that, and you're wounding them on 5s. Yikes.
And because of their special rule with the army bonus, if you can outnumber your opponent, you already reroll 1, so you wouldn't need to really carry a sword to stab most of the time. So basically, you can get, in theory, if you equipped, or I think in the new edition, right, you can just say that all your models are equipped with fists.
Well, they have to be physically visible on them.
Do they? Okay. Yeah. All right. So you equip axes onto. Yeah. You equip axes onto every single one of your Morannins. And if you can get the bonus, let's say you piercing strike. So you're strength 5, rerolling 1s if you outnumber them, and you can do a lot of damage with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that. I mean, I think the times you tend to see the orcs in the back rank is when somebody's trying to like jam in something expensive into the list.
Yeah, like a big hero or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or ring wraith on a fell beast or something
Yeah.
like that. Then I think then it gets your army can get a little small if you just go Morannons. But
Yeah, I really like putting Moranos with spears and shields behind Black Numenorians, even though it's super expensive points-wise.
But
Black
with
Numenorians at the
Mordor, it's
front
not that
also,
bad.
yeah, the Black Numenorians at the front also have terror, so
Yep.
and encourage 5 when you're outnumbering, so that's really good.
And I think that's the perfect example of, accepting that you're strength 3 in the front, but you have the strength 4 from behind. So that's the kind of perfect situation in which you would want to go, all right, well, I have a little bit of hitting power in the back rank. Everything's defense 6, but more importantly, you have to take courage tests just to charge me in the first place. And then more likely you'll have something to give you -1 in a Mordor list. So yeah, I like that a lot, actually. We'll go on to the next number 5. I'll move over to Matt for that.
All right, so my number 5 is also a warrior model, and this is the Lake Town Guard, which we've talked about a bit recently. So the Lake Town Guard is 5 points, and once you kind of get past the 5 points, nothing else really matters. But it's fight 3, strength 3, defense 4, 1 attack, courage 2. He's got armor and sword. You can give him a bow for 1 point, a spear for 1 point. So these are the ways in good armies that you can cheap out. And part of the benefit of the warriors of the army of Lake Town, the Lake Town Guard, is that it is the benefits that the cheap heroes that come with them give them. So you've got the master who can spend a point of might to give himself a 6-inch banner for these guys and make them fight 4, which means suddenly you've got a 5-point fight 4 model, which is really scary. And you've got Braga with his free might points that he gets to spend, and Alfred who can give even more free might points to both of these guys. I think, as we've said, you can get I think 30 or I think it's actually about a 35 point grouping of these guys, including Alfred, including Braga, including the master, for about 300 points, which then gives you, that's your bulk of your army, that's your numbers, and then you've got 500 points to spend on the hard-hitting heroes of your choice. And it's 35 guys who can actually, when they get up to having a banner and fight 4 and they're spear supporting themselves, can do a decent amount of damage, and certainly can't be ignored. And it's going to be really hard for the other guy to kind of devote 300 points of his own army to check them, because these guys can generally beat 300 points of an opposing army, and that's why they're a good. I mean, I guess they're a cost efficient way. I'm trying to think of what the term would be. Is it a force multiplier? Yeah, maybe they're a force multiplier for that other 500 points of your army that they can just follow around and be a mob for.
Yeah, they're really good. I was thinking recently about making an army where they would be standing behind high elves from Rivendell. And it's like you're only paying 6 points for a spear supporter. You have fight values 5 at the front, and then with your master, you also you also have a banner, and so it's just so cost efficient.
Yeah, Evan tends to put these guys either in front of or behind Thranduil's Hall's elves for precisely that reason.
I mean, they're one of those models where you go at it and you go, okay, so you look at all the other models that are 5 points, so maybe like a Moria Goblin, or what's another example? Is there a base costed model of 5 points?
A Wild Man of Dunland?
Wild Man of Dunland, maybe an Orc Tracker kind of a thing. And
I
you just
think
look at
a Ruffian.
Ruffians are 5 points. Okay.
I don't know. I'm going to check.
But basically, you get the premise where you have, let's say, hobbits at 4 points or something of that matter. I think an orc naked is 5 points. And so you look at that and you go, okay, so they have the defense. They have a higher courage than most of these guys. They have, but with the benefits that they give, they are fight 4 with that special rule. And then you go, okay, so for 5 points, you have a fight 4 defense. They can go defense 5, right? Or is it?
No, they can't.
they're
They're
stuck at
always
defense.
defense
Okay,
4.
defense 4. Okay, so you accept that you're defense 4, but you're fight 4, so that's the important thing. So you can tie a majority of fights in games, and then it's like Matt said, you have these cheap models that can all lead them, and because of that, you just get so many. If you wanted to go down the route of I'm not going to have a big hero, I mean, you could go toe to toe with Goblin Town very easily. If you just said I just want captains with warriors, captain with warrior, captain with warrior, I mean, you could just have such a horde of these things to the point where you can go. I really don't care what you take. I have so many models that can just die very easily, and I'm still fight 4.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you a comparison to the ruffian, who is also 5 points, so I guess would be the evil equivalent of these guys. The ruffians for the same point cost are fight 2 rather than fight 3, defense 3 rather than fight 4. Their equivalent courage of 2, and the ruffians have no spear option, and obviously they have no way to get a 6-inch banner and get themselves up to fight 4.
And even if they had all those things, they don't even have any options to ally with anything that useful. Whilst Lake Town guards can ally with like so many big things.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about this lake town and the other lake town is that the allies that these guys have, you can pretty much do anything you want with them. If you want to get your big Thranduil into the fights, or if you want to get Bard, or if you want to get now obviously the 2 lake town lists are impossible, so you probably wouldn't do that, but I'm just simply saying that if you want a Dane in your list, or Thranduil, or any kind of thing like that, you can have your big heroes and still have a ton of models, like Matt said. So it's very good.
Or an Iron Hills Chariot.
Or an Iron Hills Chariot.
Iron Hills Chariot.
Maybe you go with the hero Iron Hills Chariot. There's your 500 points.
Yep.
Okay. I'll move it over to Mick next.
Right, so we went over Mordor earlier. So this is the additional to Mordor. It's really 2 profiles that are almost the same, serve the same purposes in both good and evil. So that's Madril and Gurid's Master of Reserves. So Gurid specifically, move 6, fight 4, strength 5, defense 6, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 3. 3 might, 1 will, 1 fate for 60 points, heroic march, and he gives your army modifiers +1 or -1 to deployment in Maelstrom. So he's just one of those models where if you're playing a Mordor list, there isn't really ever a reason not to take him as, let's say, your 2nd or 3rd hero that you bring. Because as we talked many times on this podcast before, you generally want to have a hero with March. And so in something like Mordor, you generally would go, okay, do I want a captain, or do I want Gurid, who also has all these other benefits? And the easy answer is you want Gurid. And similar thing happens to Madril on the good side, where he provides that really cool bonus to deployment, whilst providing also 3 might and heroic march. So these 2 guys are essentially the same thing on both sides, and they're just super useful as something that either acts as a 3 might marcher, or in like 1/6 of the scenarios gives you really good bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just not a solid choice, I think.
I don't believe I've made a Mordor list or a Minas Tirith list without these 2 in it ever.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't believe I know we've talked about Irolas. I know we've talked about Irolas.
I made lots of Mordor lists without Madril.
Well, yeah.
How'd you do that? Like, what came to your head when you were thinking about that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, he wanted Aragorn in his Mordor list. That's why he did take Madril. Yep. And he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have 3 marches anyway."
Yeah, I just you look at Guritz and you see, okay, so he is a captain at fight 4. You have to accept that. That's his downside, is his fight 4. but he's strength 5.
He's
so
strength 5. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah, he's
captains are
strength 5.
4.
Yeah, I was forgetting he's strength 5.
He's
And
strength
and
5.
he's got his two-handed pick.
That's
so,
exactly what I was about to say.
so he can become strength 6 and go two-handed.
Exactly. So if you get him in on a hero, your strength 6, and if strength 6 +1 to wound. I mean, it can be devastating on a hero to have 4 dice, especially if you trap. 4 dice, strength 6 +1 to wound. I mean, you're doing a ton of damage. So, I actually think Guritz, even though he has the ability to fight, troops, I actually think the best thing to do is to pair Guritz with another one of your heroes and then go in on that hero to try to do some damage to him. So maybe if you had, let's say, Gothmog in that list, maybe you pair him with Gothmog, and not only do you have another point of might to, maybe bump the dice up if you need to, but also you have the strength 6 +1 to wound kind of factor from him. He's D6 instead of D7 compared to him, but that's fine because he doesn't have a shield. He has to have some drawbacks. I believe he's courage 3, if I'm correct. I don't think he's courage 4. Yeah. So that's his downside. He's a basic warrior essentially.
Yeah,
well, that's what Fury is for.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Fury is for. So you don't really care that much as well. And Guritz is just for 60 points to have 3 points of might, march, strength 5 with a 2-handed pick. I mean, it is and his the special rule is what makes it so good. And it's not just his army; it's any army he is in that allows him to get Maelstrom or the Master of Battle, whatever you want to call that rule of his that allows him to deploy +1 -1.
Master of Maelstroms.
Master of Maelstroms.
Maelstrom of Battle.
Maelstrom of. I like that. That sounds like that should be the name of it. Maelstrom of Battle. Yeah, and then Madrill, obviously, 3 might, has a bow, which is always a great thing when a hero is just equipped with a bow. And, he has his downside of being defense 5 and I think fight 4, but you don't really care because he's there for the reserve rolls to get on Maelstrom, and then he's there to add a little bit of might for moves or marches. So
I like how Mick kind of phrased it. Like people are always trying to put captains into the mix for their march, and why not bring a hero that has march and 3 might for about the same price? Like those two actually almost made it on my list. So yeah, they're really good.
Well, I'm curious to see what you have in place of those two.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I've got a theme going on. You guys are gonna see.
There's probably a chariot in there, and then
Yeah, it's like a warrior on chariot, a king on chariot, a chieftain on chariot.
All right, so who thought of Smog? Let's be honest. Who thought of Smog? Right?
Nobody thought of Smog.
Damn it. I'm the only one. Shoot. All right, Rainier, your pick.
All right, so my number 5 actually is going to go to the Mohit King. And I feel like I just always go back to play him. Like I love playing him so much that sometimes I put 3 of them in one list, even with allying. So the Mohit King, we've talked to him before on this podcast, but he's base only 70 points. Fight of 5, hits on 3s with his blowpipe, strength 5, D5, 3 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 5. He's got 2 might, 2 will, 1 fate, which isn't the best, but the ability that I like to do is put all the warrior on him. So when you couple him with a war camel and a lance, that just makes a strength 5 with basically 1+2 wound on the charge kill quite a lot. He also has heroic strike and strength, so he can burst through heavy armor pretty easily. And he has the ability to lead half trolls, which I think are amazing in this game. Whenever I see him, I don't want to play him. Whenever I play them, I love them. You don't like them. No, so yeah, that's why he's going to go to my 5. First reason, of course, I just love playing him, but also I think his points value, like what you get for his points, is amazing. You can get him fully kitted, killing things on the move phase, cutting through defense 7, even going toe-to-toe with heroes with potentially killing them, all for like less than 100 points. I think that's quite a discount. And what I like doing too in my armies is I like separating the threats within the army. So I feel like you could take 2, maybe 3 of him in a list, and it just makes it quite strong. So yeah, I'm going to go with Mohit King.
I like to compare him. So to me, he's kind of like a lower tier. Like you could use him as a captain kind of level. Like I consider him Faramir level. And so I always like to compare heroes at this points value to Faramir because I don't know, it's just something I do. And so when you compare them, they're both the same fight. He has one more attack. He's higher strength. He has a mount that can knock people or do a strength 4 hit. He has the lance, which I know Faramir, I believe, has access to. But I'm just saying, so I think what would have killed this profile for me is if he didn't have heroic strike. But the fact that he has heroic strike and he does have that second point of will as well, it makes him much more durable to be able to fight heroes or stay alive against magic because just having strike and a second point of will just makes him that much better. So I know we always talk about the list that you take, and they almost always have some version of this guy in it or another captain kind of a thing. And he definitely for me is just a phenomenal, 4 attacks, strength 5 plus 1 to wound on the. I mean, you're killing a majority of things with one hit. So it's a very strong hitting model.
Very good.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, I think the only drawback that comes with him is kind of the limited amount he can kind of, and maybe I have to look at this list. I mean, what he can ally with, I guess. But does he have a lot of yellow options?
Yeah, he does have a lot of yellow. The only red that he can actually ally with is the Serpent Horde, but he can ally with
You
Mordor.
mean the green? You mean green?
Yeah, green. Sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
it's late here, but yeah, the green. He can yellow with quite a few armies actually, and I actually like the idea of throwing him in with Mordor lists because you get all those heroes from Mordor that have these unique, I guess, play styles. Even with we talked about Maelstrom, you can put him wherever you want if you ally him with Mordor. And people don't really see him as big as a threat because like Tim said, and I even see him like this too, he is, your opponent will see him as a Faramir. It's like, okay, like Faramir, 2 attacks, he'll survivable, he'll do some stuff, but he's kind of limited in the killing arena. This guy, you could like let him loose and he cuts through stuff really easily, I feel. So it's like a bonus.
Yeah, the thing you said about allying to Mordor, like Mordor generally lacks sort of 100-point-ish strong fighty heroes. Like Mouth of Sauron is okay-ish at 85, but then afterwards you're kind of looking at like Gothmog for 140 or Felbeast for 170. So if you did want to have a good fighty hero at lower points, then he's definitely a good option.
I mean, there is Shagrat, but he's 15 points more than 100.
Yeah, and he doesn't.
You could even ally
ride
2 of them in with Shagrat.
And that's the thing. Like I think about that, and I go to myself, okay, are they Valor or are they
They're Valor.
Are they Valor? Okay.
Valor, yeah, they change them to Valor. You could even have them with the Moraine and back with the half trolls, and then you have half trolls fight 5 with an extra strength 4 in the behind, or even cheaper. You can ally in orcs with a spear for 6 points and half trolls at the front. Like it's I don't know, yeah.
So I mean, you'd have to make one of them your leader, but I mean, I just think about if you had those 3 heroes on the battlefield, and you go, okay, Shagrat, super hard to kill because he's 3/3/3 defense 7 fight. He's perfect, right? He has the shield which knocks it down, you can't take it away, kind of a thing. And then you add those 2 captain or those 2 kings, and you go, okay, so then I also have 2 mounted models that can also heroic strike. So all 3 models can strike. Everybody has 2 plus will. And these things are going to cause so much damage to, even if I don't put them against my heroes, the troop damage that these guys will do will be incredible. And I actually really want to try that now. I really want to take 2 kings and Shagrat and see how that does.
It's a shame the Black Dart is just going to be taking out their camels. And then
we don't need to talk about that now.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Don't trigger us, Mick. Don't trigger us.
We'll find a way. We'll make up we'll just pretend that all 3 of them just magically get
just play without Black Darts.
2 dice to resist. They just get the Galadriel roll. They just get 2 dice to resist no matter what. Okay. We'll move on to number 4s. So my number 4 is Gandalf the Grey. I have Gandalf a little bit. I thought about putting him at 3, but I kept him at 4. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about. He's fight 5. He is strength 4, but with his sword, he can go to strength 5. So you always take him with his sword, obviously. So he can go to strength. Well, maybe not always, but a majority of time you were taking him with his sword. So he's fight 5 with the sword, strength 5, D5, but all wizards are D5 except for Gandalf the White and Galadriel. So you accept that. He's not there to fight really. Courage 7, which is amazing. Basically it's almost an auto pass unless you roll snake eyes. You have 3 wounds, great. You have 3 might, always good. 3 fate, and you have 6 will with a asterisk, which means you can use 1 will per turn plus 6 will. And he has the ring, which allows him to reroll his fate. So obviously, even if he takes a wound, you use a fate. You failed it. Well, let me reroll it. I'll probably get it that time. Gandalf is, I call him the perfect wizard because he doesn't do anything exceptionally well. Like, he doesn't have a great Sorcerer's Blast number, but he has Sorcerer's Blast. He doesn't have a great Blinding Light number, but he has Blinding Light. He has Compel, or what's the good version of Compel? Command.
Yeah.
He has Immobilize. He has what is the
Yes, Collapse Rocks, which
that's the one I was thinking about.
Never use in your life.
And let's see, he has Terrifying Aura, makes himself terrifying. Strength and Will, always a good spell, in case you have a low tier hero who that's going to be getting mobilized a lot. You just give him Strength and Will, and he'll get a couple will to help resist a little bit longer. And Protection of the Valar, is that only on the Fellowship one, or is that on the other ones as well? Protection of the Valor.
No, I think it's on all of them.
Is it on all? Okay, so
I mean, it's not on Gandalf the White. It's on all of the.
All the Gandalf the Grey.
There's only one Gandalf the Grey.
Okay, so Gandalf.
Gandalf the Grey.
So protection of the Valor, being able to give a fate point back, always good if you need to, maybe deny VPs in a game. He has Heroic Strike, so if he does get into a situation where he needs to use his might to strike, that's always valuable. Heroic Channel, Heroic Resolve, but obviously you take him on horse anytime you're able to take this guy. And when he gets on horse, he can essentially move 5 inches forward, 5 inches back. He can move, 10 inches this way, 10 inches. And if you needed him to get into a fight for whatever the reason, him having 2 attacks at strength 5 isn't that bad on the charge. Yeah, that's Gandalf for me. I mean, he the main reason why I think most people take him is the Blinding Light and the ability to use Sorcerer's Blast, Immobilize, Compel. He can pretty much do everything, and he fits into a lot of armies. So he's kind of the utility wizard, I think, for a lot of people. But
yeah, I think you said it perfect. Like all he does. Like, I've never seen him played in a game and not made an impact on the game. Mm-hmm. Like, so many things, Blinding Light. Bringing hordes with Lake Town or hobbits, or adding that magic to the list. It's just, he does so much. And you're too about the reoccurring fate or whatever, getting the fate back. Like, he doesn't usually die. And that's what when I come up against someone and I see them have like a hero and him on the same tier, and they choose the other hero as their leader, I kind of like sigh of relief, because I'm like, okay, I can actually wound them. Like, here we go. But yeah, so I think he makes a really good general too. So good pick.
Yeah, if only you could afford the extra points to buy Bleach and make him Gandalf the White. Then he's the perfect wizard.
Then he's the perfect wizard, exactly. I find that Bleach costs about 40 points, unfortunately.
Yeah, otherwise you just have to settle for that dingy wizard.
the dirty, disgusting.
Yeah, the guy who threw his robes in with the colored laundry, and
not quite as dirty as Radagast the Brown, but it's getting there.
Yeah,
that's right.
Don't be Radagast the Brown,
Radagast the Brown, who hasn't washed his cloak yet.
He hasn't watched himself yet.
I have a theory. Maybe all the wizards started off as white, and then over time, Saruman's just been clean, and then they've been traveling, so it just deteriorates over time.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Saruman is such a bourgeoisie. He just like stays in his tower all his life. He probably has like a laundry machine inside, and yet everyone don't.
I'm just going to throw this out there. Blue wizards went out to sea, blue.
Yeah.
We have Gandalf the Grey. He's going through mountains and crap. He's got, maybe that's, Radagast is in the forest, brown. Maybe that's why, maybe they're all white, but then they
True.
just
And then
changed.
that scene where in the Fellowship when Saruman's making Gandalf spin round and round, that's like a washing machine. So there you go.
Washing machine theories aside, we'll go on to Matt for his number 4.
All right. So my number 4, I went with Mick, and I did another split pick. My number 4 was Gurrett's Master of the Reserves as well. So we've already talked about him. So I'll just discuss my alternate pick here, and that's the Shadow Lord. And the reason why I paired these two together is when I end up doing a Mordor list, I always have one of these two guys in them.
True, same.
And the reason is you if you're going to avoid shooting, you need to do it one of two ways. You either need to kind of march up in somebody's face quickly, which is what Gurrett's Master of the Reserve does, or you need to protect yourself from shooting, which is what the Shadow Lord does. So why don't I talk about the Shadow Lord? The Shadow Lord is a spirit ring wraith Mordor infantry hero. He is the standard named wraith point value, which is 120 points. His stats are pretty average for a named wraith. They are fight 5, strength 4, defense 8, 1 attack, 1 wound, courage 5, 2 might, 14 will, and 2 fate. Comes with heavy armor and his sword. He can heroically channel. You can buy him an armored fell beast for 70 points. At some point, we should probably discuss whether anyone has ever done this. Just in a show of hands, has anybody here ever bought an armored fell beast?
I bought a horned fell beast when they were still a thing several years ago, but never
I
an
bought
armored
one when I first started playing because I thought it'd be better, and then I found out there's no point to spending that points.
Right. So you can get a fell beast for 50 points, which is probably what you're going to take, or you can put him on a horse for 10 points, and occasionally that's useful. He has the standard ring wraith special rules: Harbinger of Evil, Terror, and the Will of Evil. We won't go over those because I think we've talked about those on a number of occasions. And he has the Pall of Darkness, or if you mispronounce it, the Pale of Darkness. But the Pall of Darkness, at the start of the movement phase, before heroic actions are declared, the Shadow Lord may spend a will point to activate this ability. Until the end of the phase of that turn, shots against the Shadow Lord or any model within 6 inches of him only ever hit on a 6. So this is reverse blinding light, although it doesn't, oddly enough, come with the blinding light problem in the Clash by Moonlight scenario of illuminating everything between 6 and 12 inches from the model. It just gets darker, I guess. And then he's got his spells, which are standard wraith spells: Drain Courage on a 2, Transfix on a 3, Compel on a 4, Black Dart on a 5, Instill Fear on a 5, and the the Black Dart is actually an exception to the standard ring wraith rules.
6 inches.
It is 6 inches rather than 12 inches. So apparently he doesn't aim very well. And then he gets Sap Will on a 5. And obviously the reason you take the Shadow Lord is because of the Pall of Darkness. He is the counter to good shooting if you are an evil army. And if you want to try and get into a gun duel with a good army, either with allied Corsair Arbalesters or maybe a Harad gun line or something like that, he's a useful add-on just to protect your models as things are going in. And he's also, if you're just going to have a Mordor army that's going to do an approach march and not bother to shoot, he covers you during the approach march. And then once he gets in, he can either swoop in on a fell beast, or he can cast his spells and support, or whatever other interesting things you would have a ring wraith do.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to I mean, he's got the good casting. That's the important thing. I mean, if he doesn't have the good casting, he has one purpose, and then maybe you put him on a fell beast to fight, and that's like his two things. But him being able to now, let me ask you this: what do you tend to do? Do you tend to take him on a fell beast, or do you tend to take him on horse, or does it depend on the army you take?
It depends on the army I take.
Depends,
Maybe,
yeah.
Okay.
2/3 of the time on a fell beast, 1/3 of the time on a horse. Kind of depends I mean, if he's just going to be Mr. Support Wraith, he'll go on a horse.
Mm-hmm.
If I need another threat, then I'll spend the 30 points. And I've got the 30 points. Or I'm sorry, 40 points. I will drop them onto a fell beast.
Gotcha. I mean,
yeah, it's often one of those things where if you've already filled up your war bonds and you've kind of run out of other ideas, it's like, I have 40 points, I might as well do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's no problem doing it too, because I think it's like he still fight 5 on a fell beast. I mean, you talked Tim, you talked about like using Gandalf as kind of a fighter here and there. I think the fell beast.
Yeah, if you need him to charge something, you can, but obviously you only do that if you absolutely need him to charge, because you're gonna try
people don't do it as much, but you can still use them to like kind of hit the flanks, get a nice hurl off and knock things down, do disruptive things like that.
It gives him relevance once the lines meet,
Yeah.
because his ability kind of becomes useless, at least certainly in an evil good situation. Once the lines come together and everybody's fighting and you don't care about shooting anymore. And if you spent the extra points to give him a fell beast, then he kind of has a role at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you're gonna put him in like a Harad list, and you know that, look, this list is all about shooting anyway, and I'm not going to be charging forward, I'm going to be standing and shooting, then maybe you just put him on a horse and save the points. But if you're going to take the Mordor variant of this, where his job is just to keep the army from being shot to pieces as it advances, then maybe you want to put him on the fell beast.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move into mix number 4.
So for me, it would be most likely a Spider Queen, just because she is probably the best killing model in the game. And
Gullivar is raising his hand in the back.
Well, yes, except Gullivar is about 85 points more and only ever lives in one army, while Spider Queen actually gets to ally to either Moria or to Mordor. And so I've seen she has become quite popular in the UK, especially. Movement 10, fight 6, strength 6, defense 4, 2 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 4, 3 might, 3 will, 0 fate. She has large venomous fangs, heroic strike, and heroic defense. And monstrous charge is the main key thing here, in that she gets 3 attacks on charge. I've seen people in the past arguing that the defense 4 makes her really, really weak. But at the end of the day, as long as you win combat, you're basically killing whatever you were fighting with like 6 strikes at strength 6 rerolling. And if you lost combat, well, maybe you shouldn't have thrown her into that specific fight.
And if you lose the combat, well, you suck anyway, so you get what you deserve.
Yeah, the whole point is that you throw her into situations where you're not likely to lose combat. And when you win that combat, everything dies. And obviously the broodlings are super useful, especially now that in this edition they've been changed to movement 10, which one time actually caught me off guard. I was playing against Spider Queen. I measured everything perfectly. I was like, okay, great, the broodlings are not gonna come here. It's all safe. And then this broodling is deployed and pretty much jumps over, takes the spearman away, drops some models, and it's like, why did they ever change this to movement 10? But it just gives you those 3 additional cavalry models-ish, fast-moving models, which either can be dropped and surround stuff, or they can run off for additional points for something like recon or capture objectives. There's just so many various ways that Spider Queen can be used. And since she's Valor, she can ally easily to a lot of places like Mordor or Moria. And I think some other places too. Azog Scouts, I think.
So what's the total kind of reach out range you can do with the broodlings now? It's a 10-inch move with a Spider Queen.
Yes.
And then they can deploy within 3 inches.
Yes.
And then they can move another 10 inches. So it's like a 23-inch range. Where
half the board. They can do
reach out and
half the board.
Now,
which is outrageous.
When they deploy, have they FAQ'd this? Because there used to be a thing where you would deploy within 3 inches, but only like a millimeter of the base would be within 3. So you were actually deploying like 4.5 inches away or something like that.
That's an interesting question. Let me look this up.
So yeah, I'll talk while Matt goes over. I think something that, and I know obviously she's there to attack. She's there to attack. I think what I love about the Spider Queen is if she gets in trouble, she does have heroic defense.
Well, that's the thing.
Like
surround her, but she's fine.
Yeah, she's fine. She just goes, nah, come at me, bro. Like, roll those natural 6s, see what happens. Yeah. And so I that's what I absolutely love about, because like if she didn't have heroic defense, you'd say to herself, if you get in a bad situation, you know, she's dead. But with her having heroic defense, and she has 3 will, you said?
3 will, yeah.
Yeah, so she can resist the ability to get transfixed. So maybe someone charges in, you know, a couple heroes, couple models onto her, and she goes, all right, heroic defense, boom. That's it.
Yeah, but there's even another thing. Like you could use heroic defense offensively. So like let's say you charge against a Boromir with fight 6.
Yes.
Do you strike and then Boromir strikes and then whoever wins basically kills each other?
Yeah.
Or do you heroic defense, forcing Boromir to strike anyway, and then probably not kill you?
Exactly. That and then that's the I think heroic defense gets so underappreciated with how good it is in this edition. And so whenever I see a model who has heroic defense, I immediately think to myself, this can be used offensively and defensively. And it's depending, if you have a high fight value model like the Spider Queen, it basically counts as a better version of strike to an extent.
To an extent, yeah, sometimes, yeah.
If you have a high fight value and heroic defense, it is, in my opinion, better using that than the heroic strike. Because even if you lose, they're not doing damage to you. And if you win, well, then you've guaranteed that they wouldn't do damage to you. You've already won. It doesn't matter. So you're still going to do damage to them. So there's...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. You hold it. I'm basically...
Well, I was just going to read the progeny special rule, which I never really realized what the name of that special rule is. That's kind of a neat name for special rule. During any point in her move phase, the Spider Queen may expend any number of remaining will points to summon a broodling. For each will point expended in this way, place a single broodling base anywhere within 3 inches of the Spider Queen, but not in base contact with enemy models. And I think the way that reads, because it does not say entirely within,
yeah,
to be a little bit within. So I
thought this had been FAQ'd at some point, but if it hasn't, then it's essentially 25-inch reach.
Let me see if I can. Not quite that much, but like 24 and a half. All right, let me go and do the FAQ plunge here. Maybe the next person can talk while I.
But yeah. Just it's one of those models that you come across and you're not excited to play against it.
No,
it's just like I don't want to do this right now. I think, yeah. So it's a really good model.
Yeah, especially if like you've just had really tough game that went overtime, and you come up to the next table and you're like, oh, Spider Queen.
Here we go again.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say the only time when I'm really kind of comfortable playing against the Spider Queen is when I've got evil shooting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, shooting is what she's vulnerable to, and the way she usually solves that problem is just by charging in if she's fighting good. But against evil shooting, it's a problem for her because you just make sure she can't hit a critical hero, and she has to hit an ordinary warrior, and then everybody on the evil side with any type of throwing weapon or bow or crossbow shoots into that combat, and oftentimes she'll go down.
Yeah, because she's low defense too, at defense 5 too. So even a throwing weapon can wound her, or defense 4. Oh geez,
is she
even
2 wounds or 3?
So is what?
Is she Are she 2 wounds or 3?
3.
3. Okay, so that makes her better. Okay, I was worried she was
2 attacks, but 3 wounds.
Even like a throwing weapon can wound her on a 5. A crossbow can wound her on a 4. Like that's, I agree with Matt. Like that is her one weakness.
Yeah, and well, catapults are her biggest weakness.
Oh, I would not imagine that. You just get a catapult right in the oof.
Or or even a ballista will pop her like a balloon.
Yeah, or like things like, let's say, black darts or
I was gonna say Sorcerer's Blast.
Like,
yeah,
it's always nice when, let's say, you don't really have many other options to do. You don't need to transfix anybody. There is a Spider Queen just roaming around. Just throw a couple of dice at a black dart, hope that maybe it goes through, maybe you take a wound off. Then another time, maybe you do something, and then eventually, if she loses a fight, it's just so much easier to kill her.
I was gonna say like double Fell Beast or Gandalf Saruman kind of combo where you get the double
there's
blast.
no chance then.
Yeah, I think about like if I had the Spider Queen, I would not want to go against double blast, double Fell Beast kind of a thing.
Yeah, but then that's like 350 points, and you spend
No, it is, but
115 on Spider.
and I get especially in
she's done her job at that point, I guess.
Yeah, but double wizards would definitely be an issue.
So the only FAQ that deals with broodlings says if the Spider Queen declares a heroic move and then spawns a number of broodlings as part of that heroic move, can the broodlings move as part of the heroic move? And the answer is no. Yeah. So she's effectively got like a 24.5-inch reach,
which is outrageous.
Think of Reconnoiter, just pop.
Oh my god, that is Reconnoiter. Oh my gosh, you get to halfway. Okay, bye.
Yeah, that's right.
It actually means you can sort of create this shield against shooting as well, because then you can throw your broodlings at some bowmen 24.5 inches away, and then those bowmen can't shoot, and then you can advance. So then hopefully next turn you can have less shots coming at you.
Yeah, like I agree.
That's
like
a good point,
people sometimes like, oh, like her stats or like what puts her over the edge, but the broodlings, just the things you can do with them it's crazy.
Okay, Rainier, we'll move into your number 4.
Well, mine's gonna be easy. I chose the Shadow Lord.
All right, second vote for Shadow Lord.
Yeah, basically Matt said exactly what I was gonna say. I even wrote it down, like a whole list of everything, and then I was like, oh, okay, he didn't say this. Oh, he just said that. Oh, he didn't talk about Harad. Oh, he just talked about Harad too. Oh, so yeah, it's the exact same reason.
Great minds think alike, Rainier.
Exactly, it's true. Oh, two Nova winners. That's how we won Nova, right? But yeah, so same reason as Matt. I don't want to add anything else. Do you guys want me to add a different model or just?
No. We're keeping track of the votes. So
yep.
Okay. So Shadow Lord, exact same reasons.
I have a feeling Shadow Lord is winning. Although, hold on, because
no, I have a feeling someone else is.
Yeah,
I have a feeling.
I suspect
also has 2 votes.
One of you guys is going to tell him before me too. But like, yeah. So Shadow Lord, same reasons.
All right.
We'll go on to number 3s. Speaking of Gurits, I have Gurits at my number 3.
Gurits at number 3. So Gurits pulls into the lead with a 3rd vote.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about him twice now, basically, so not a whole lot to say. So, Matt, your number 3?
My number 3 is another one where I suspect once we get to higher numbers, people will be talking about him, and that is Sulidan. And
there you go.
Yep.
Let me find his profile.
I knew that when I was putting him on my lists, I was not going to talk about him.
He's kind of the cop-out. Geez. All right. So, unfortunately, because we skipped over the 2 in between, I didn't have time to turn to this first. But let's see.
Rainier, we're just such jerks. We didn't consider the fact that you would have Sulidan at 3.
Yeah, here we go. So just for viewers to know, Matt just stole another one from me. So I'm probably not going to talk this whole episode. I'm just going to be like, yep, he said it.
Okay. You can just say, me too. All right, well, here, why don't we do this? I will read out Sulidan's stats, and you can talk about him, Rainier. How about that?
Nice. Sounds good.
I like the give and take. It's nice.
So Sulidan, the Serpent Lord, he is 100 points for a hero of legend. He is fight 5, strength 4, defense 5, a little squishy there, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 5, 3 might, 3 will, 1 fate, destined to die there. Armor, sword, and the Serpent Banner. The Serpent Banner is a 6-inch banner that does not give Sulidan the -1 penalty in duels for carrying it. So, excellent add to any army. His heroic actions are resolve, march. So if you want to if you need a march in a list, you can get it in that way. Strike, always useful. And heroic challenge, never useful. And you can get him with an armored horse for 15 points, which you almost always do, and a bow with poison arrows for 5 points, which occasionally I will do.
Yes.
You almost never do.
I'll do it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Hey, I actually ended up killing Gulavar because I bought Sulidan with that bow with poison arrows. Because he managed to plink Gulavar on the way in. He managed to spend a might point to plink Gulavar on the way in, and then that extra, it turned out to be the wound that put Gulavar over the edge in the subsequent fight.
Oh yeah, because Gulavar also uses the attack as well. So that's
exactly.
That's a good use of might.
Yeah, it's wild too because he's got 3 might, so it's like you can sometimes treat him like a Vrasku. Like, okay, I'll spend a might to kill you. Like, why not?
He also has a poison sword, so he benefits from the Betrayer's special rule in combat. And he is ascendant, which means the range of his standfast is 12 inches rather than 6 inches, which tends not to come into play all that much, I find.
No, not really.
Because he is... Well, it's less that he's a hero of legend and more that he's defense 5. Yeah. And usually at the point that your Serpent Horde or whatever army he's in breaks, he's probably dead.
Yes.
Because he will go down. But go ahead and talk about him, Rainier. And then...
Yeah, I think the main thing that you'll bring him for is his duality for such a low point. You get a model that can lead 18, or a hero that can lead 18 models, which right off the bat is amazing for the Serpent Horde because you can ally in Serpent Rider for 13 points. There you have a cheap Fight 4 Lance unit. You can spam bows. The army list itself allies in with quite a lot. So like the model itself is really good for what it brings. Plus the 6-inch banner, I think, is just the kicker. Not only does it give you 6 inches across the whole field, but it also has the ability to work towards victory points. So that's why you see him a lot of times allied in. The hero of legend can sometimes be a weakness if you ally him in, because then you have to make him your leader, which sucks because he's low defense with 1 fate. He's always going to be wounded. And then he also has a target on his back because he has the banner for the victory points. But yeah, I just think he's amazing. He kills stuff pretty well. The march, like Matt mentioned, is a huge bonus. We talk about Gurritz and like Maldril, all these different heroes with 3 might and march. Like this one has 3 might and march plus 3 attacks, plus he's mounted, plus he rerolls 1s to wound, rerolls everything if you combine him with the Betrayer. So I just think he's an amazing. You'll see like where I put him in my list soon. But yeah, I just think the bang for the buck is amazing. What he brings to the list is amazing. Mick brought it in one of our episodes just with a whole bunch of Creebane and Sulidan. Like you don't even have to hoard out things with him.
I would just ally him to anything. It's like,
yeah,
like you can easily just ally him to even Moria list if you really wanted to.
Balrog with Sulidan.
Well, no, but like the 6-inch banner essentially gives you like 4 times the area of a normal banner. So if you were playing something like Uruk-hai lists and you wanted that extra punch, well, he's yellow with Isengard, and he's not that different from someone like Lurtz in terms of like combat ability. So if you have the points and you don't need to fill up the war bonds any further, then do it. Why not?
You know what? That'd be so interesting to take a front rank Uruk-hai warrior with shield, back rank Harad warrior with bow and spear, and like obviously you couldn't get it perfectly, but just to have that kind of fight 4, strength 4, d6 in the front, and then you have bows, and then that'd be so interesting actually. Lurtz, maybe you take like Saruman, Lurtz, and Sulidan with. I really want to try that now. There's so many things I want to try that we talk about on this podcast that just really interest me.
Yeah, you can even take them with berserkers, and then all of a sudden your berserkers have 3 rolls. put 2 pikes with the berserkers. That's actually 6 rolls.
Or you can just get the siege tower.
Yeah, just siege tower. Just get the siege tower.
If you take him with Saruman, then Saruman can be your leader, and so your weakness of dying and losing your general is taken away. And so I've played him with Saruman before in like
Elmir too.
standard-ish Isengard lists, or like with Isengard with some bombs and Saruman and Sulidan, and he's always been pretty solid.
I mean, I will say this: at 115 points with his massively undercosted banner, because I mean that banner, in all honesty, is worth probably about 40 points on its own. You don't. I mean, with that and just his ability to like call moves or marches with might points, you don't actually need to. You don't need to have him killing stuff to earn his points back.
No,
he is a leader who can just kind of start behind the battle line with a couple ranks of Morannons or Harad or whatever it is between him and the enemy. And he just kind of stays back there until he has the opportunity to kind of safely go in and kill a guy, a random guy or two to kind of whittle down the opponent. So, I actually don't have a problem making him my leader because I'm perfectly happy to not commit him to kill and just kind of keep him in a nice, safe place where everybody else in the army gets the benefit from his banner. And then once a bunch of guys have gone down, you kind of neutralized the enemy's heroes, then you can commit him and do some damage with him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Mick, your number 3?
My number 3 is Legolas from Thranduil's Halls.
Ooh.
So I think we talked about this before when we were talking about like just the top 5 heroes under 100. So the great thing from this particular Legolas is that Thranduil's Halls don't have any red allies at all. So if you want any like spear supporters with fight 5, you can add them from the halls. And if you want to, and obviously you have to take a hero, which has to be either Legolas or Thranduil. And so in this case, you will almost always take Legolas. I would always mount him because once he stops shooting, he's still a pretty decent fighter at fight 6 and 2 attacks on charge with 3 might and heroic strike. And in general, just his special rule of just auto hitting and taking out mounts, taking out banners, taking out just stuff on that might be sitting on objective. Taking out just wounding Spider Queen, for example, once, and then wounding Spider Queen a second time, and then a third time, and Spider Queen dies, or wounding Shadow Lords, or wounding a Sulidan. It's just there's just so many little things that Legolas can do that no one else can do, and he will pretty much always be able to do those things because his ability is 24-inch long. So in terms of his stats, I think I remember it was fight 6, shoot value 3, then 4, 5, 2, 2, 6, I think, and 3, 2, 3 for Might, Will, Fate.
I know. Is that your telephone number or?
Yes. So fight 6, shoot value 3 plus, strength 4, defense 4 with 5 with armor.
He comes with the armor in the.
He does in this list, yeah. And then 2 attacks, 2 wounds, 3 might, 2 will, 3 fate. So
yes.
So with the 3 fate points, like he's actually even pretty survivable too. So he's just a very good utility character who allows you to bring fight 5 support units to any good army in the game. And so that's why I would always keep him in like my top 3 character choices in the game.
Now, I know that in the past, it was almost exclusively you take him with Elven Cloak. Are you an Elven Cloak or horse guy?
Always take him on a horse. I don't, especially in the current edition.
Also a horse guy, okay.
Yeah, in the current edition, there isn't really a reason to take the Elven Cloak for him because he doesn't benefit from hiding behind warriors.
Warriors, makes sense.
Well, you can't Black Dart the Elven Cloak.
Well, that is true. We'll see what the next FAQ says, though, if you can Black Dart equipment next time. So
I think Jay is doubling down on that one.
we'll be Black Darting swords and other things like that.
Black Darting the ring.
Black Dart Underrail, it breaks.
Oh, you know what? I wish they would, because like every time I imagine like what a Black Dart would look like in real life, I just imagine like shuriken knives, like boom, but they're like covered in like a dark like like dark looking thing, and like so like when you just see like a black dart, I just imagine like shuriken knives like throwing out of their arms.
I always imagined like a barroom dart, with the little feathers, stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't even know what I imagine when I think of black darts. I don't even think about it.
We'll have a whole topic on this. What do these spells look like in your head?
Yeah, and the entire episode.
Right.
Okay. Rainier, what was your number 3?
Okay, so my number 3, I'm actually going to the good side, which I rarely do. I'm gonna bring in Gwahir.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, Gwahir. I just think we talked about the Spider Queen. I think Gwahir is like the good equivalent to her in many ways. With the ability, what you can do with him. Start off with his stats. So he's a monster, of course, hero of legend. So you can make him your leader. Fight 8, strength 6, D8, 2 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 6. The whole 3/3/3 when it comes to might, will, fate. Claws and beak. So there's that. His heroic actions are strike, which is I don't think you're going to really use it that often. Defense and strength. So going back to that big defense thing, you can use him offensively by just throwing him into Mega Hero and just heroic defense 3 times in a row. They don't win. They decide, just like the Boromir situation we talked about earlier. Do you strike up? You have the potential of not actually striking over an 8. If not, you'll get hurled or potentially wounded or killed.
Can we pause there for just a second? Because I actually have a question. Because Gwahir's defense 8, right?
And 3 fight. And 3 wounds.
So most of the time, Gwahir is going to be wounded on a 6/4. What does it mean if you're wounded on a 6/4 and you call a heroic defense? Understandably, I mean, you can't get wounded. Somebody can't use might to affect their roll.
6?
Yeah, does it change it to a 6?
I'd say 6/6.
Yeah,
I'd say 6/6.
That's a good question. Because it's natural. Because you wouldn't downgrade it. There's no way you can downgrade it.
Well, unless you would say the first roll has to be a natural 6 followed by a 4.
You could do that. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good
one. Okay, so Rainier, go back to your discussion. I'm going to actually look up heroic defense.
It's a good question, though, actually. Oh, my goodness, yeah.
I never thought about that.
Because when I was thinking about Gwahir, I was thinking about, high defense model that can call heroic defense. And, I was like, how does that work? But anyway, go on. Sorry.
So he has fly, monstrous charge, and terror as well. He's Lord of the Eagles, so only Eagle and Wizard models can benefit from his stand fast. So that's pretty good. But I just think his what he does for your list, he's terrifying. When I see him, I'm just scared. I'm like, okay, it's not how am I going to kill Gwahir.
I'm just scared.
I get scared, like way scared. It's not how am I going to kill Gwahir. It's how can I negate him from killing too much stuff this game.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about weird combos on here. You can ally him in with many lists. I've seen him allied in with hobbits, with elves, with Lorien. You can give him the Mirror of Galadriel, then his fate's reoccurring, so you're not just going to not kill him. You're never really going to wound him at all. And yeah, I just think he's a wonderful take for what he does at 150 points too. That's not too bad. You can relate him to many other things, and I think he has the ability to ally into a lot of things as well. So yeah, he's my number 3 just because he's a beast. And he does so much damage.
I mean, you look at Gwahir and you go, okay, so he basically is better than a fell beast. Obviously, he doesn't have magic, but fight-wise, he's better than a fell beast. He has good defense. He has 3 might. He has 3 will. He has 3 fate. So it's very difficult to kill him. He's fight 8, which I think only Gil-galad, the Balrog, Sauron, and Smaug have higher fight value in the game.
Treebeard has 8.
Oh, Treebeard. Okay, so someone's tied. Basically, you have a top 6 fight value in the game. And so that's unbelievable right there. And he has Hurl, he has Barge, he has Rend.
Fly also.
Yeah, he can. He has Terror, right?
Yeah, Terror too.
Okay, so
why would he be scary? Just a bird the size of a house.
So I mean, there's like, And for, what is he, 150?
150, yeah. So
So he's just, for his points, he is just phenomenal to add to a list. If you have an 800 point list, make a 650 point list and add Gwahir. So it's like Matt said with the Lake Town guard. You get your numbers up, and then you just add Gwahir into the mix, and then you just go, okay, so I've got fight 4 troops, and I've got Gwahir going at you. Come at me, bro. Like, what do you do exactly?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, Gwahir was like fighting for a position on my list as well. So, by the way, the heroic defense thing is actually answered by the rules. It does say under the heroic defense rule, if a hero would usually have been wounded on a 6-4, 6-5, or 6-6, then they will only be wounded if both rolls are natural rolls. So basically, all it does is cancels the might.
Okay.
Your ability to might up one of those rolls.
So you need a natural 6 followed by a natural 4+.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. So we will move on to the number 2. Mine is Sulidan, believe it or not.
All right, another vote for Sulidan.
Pretty obvious. I mean, I'll just say one thing real quick. I mean, with Sulidan, for his points, for what he does, he's almost in every single list I think of, really. I mean, every list I make almost has Sulidan in it, really. So for me, for his points, easy number 2 for me.
So he's got so many votes so far, but there's one character that I think all of us were at some point thinking about, who still hasn't been mentioned. I have a feeling that's gonna be like Sulidan getting all these votes, and then there might just be a swing in the other direction at some point.
Yeah, there might
be. It's gonna be the U.S. elections.
So right now we've got Sulidan and Guritz tied with 3 votes. And,
okay.
For my number 2 slot, I'm going to give a second vote to Legolas.
Okay.
And the only thing I'll add to Mick's explanation is that the other benefit I find with Legolas is he is the guy who has the ability to punch through the counter shooting tech. Because as Mick mentioned, he can shoot the Shadow Lord down.
Yeah.
He can shoot Galadriel. It'll take him a while to do it, but he can do it. He can certainly shoot Círdan down.
Mm-hmm.
So that ability to take Legolas even if you have your anti-shooting tech, and Legolas, then you can still win the shooting war, even if the other guy's got the equivalent blinding light, because you have Legolas to counter it and turn his off while yours is just going to stay on.
I thought I'd just add one thing where people a lot of time don't really consider Legolas shooting at Shadow Lord, but it's like, it's defense 8, you need a 6x4, but really with your 3 might points, if you really wanted to, you can just roll a 3+ and wound and cause a wound. At that point, the Shadow Lord goes, okay, I have 2 fate points. If I fail both of them, I die. If I fail the first one, do I might it? Or do I roll the second one? But then on the second one, once I've used both, then Legolas can hit again and I die. So it's 170 points that can just disappear or put you in a very tricky situation if someone really wants to.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I always consider shooting Legolas at the Shadow Lord. I mean, if there's a ring wraith on the board, that's the first thing Legolas is shooting at.
Well, even shooting people like Sulidan, like if Sulidan's leader, you hide him behind, like you take him out. And we talk about like the black dart, dehorsing everything. Like Legolas is the OG of the black dart, just dehorsing whatever he wants.
Well, and the time to do that, by the way, is when the other guy charges into combat.
Oh yeah.
So the other guy charges into combat, and then say he charged into combat with 2 guys backed up by spears, and then you shoot him off of his horse. And if he doesn't roll the 6 on the Throne Rider test, he's not doing anything in that combat, and you got a pretty good chance to kill him then.
Yeah, well, it's like it's basically forcing heroes who are mounted to dismount before they charge.
I mean, the way I have
it's actually worse than that, because if they're dismounted when they're in combat, they don't get to make
yes. But I mean, when your opponent has Legolas and you have a hero who's mounted, you basically have to dismount and charge rather than risk losing your your horse, especially if Legolas has 3 might. And again, I don't mind like throwing a couple of might points away just to dismount someone who just got into combat.
Yep.
I mean,
Fair point.
the thing that I liked, I never thought about it, but the two things I take away from Legolas are, I never thought that he was allied with everybody. That was a really good point. So you can take him with every single list, and yes, you lose the bonus, but to just add Legolas into any list and not suffer a big penalty is huge. But also the other thing, I always consider Legolas like this. If you're fighting a ring wraith specifically on Felbeast, if I hit a 5 up, I'm probably causing a wound because I'm using a point of might to cause that to a 6, and then I need a 3+ to then wound you. And so I have 3 chances at a 5 by 3, and more than likely I'm killing you on one of those 5 by 3s.
Yeah.
So I love Legolas.
Yeah, doesn't he have like 3 fate too?
Yeah, 3 fate,
So
2
he's
wounds.
actually pretty hard to kill.
Exactly.
Even when you come into combat with him, he's pretty hard to kill. And fight 6, like Matt mentioned,
Yes.
fight 6, like on horse is deadly. Even on combat supporting is deadly. Late game, because Legolas usually lasts the whole game. Whenever I've played him or played against him, well, rarely I've killed him, but yeah, having fight 6 at the end of the game when everyone's out of might and you can't heroic strike, and then you just have pesky Legolas show up. Oh, I'm fight 6. I rolled a 6. You can't do anything. Like, it's frustrating.
No, Legolas is phenomenal for his points. Rainier, you're number 3.
Oh no,
Or
mine's
number
three.
2. Number 2. Sorry.
No.
Number 2.
No, wait, isn't it Mick next?
It's
Mick's
my number 2.
Oh, I thought Mick. I don't know why. I just assumed Mick was. I don't know.
Yeah, Mick
I'm
voted for
losing my
Legolas
mind.
twice.
I've lost my mind.
It's late, guys.
Mick, we've had enough of you. Just go.
It's fine. Well, it was a close one, and on number 2 ends up Galadriel, Lady of Light.
Oh, okay.
I have a feeling it's going to be number 1 for everybody else.
So why don't you go over Lady of Light?
So 130 points, Hero of Valor, move 6, fight 6, strength 4, defense 3, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, courage 7, 3 might, 6 + 1 will, and 3 fate. She has a Light of Erendil and Nenya, one of the rings, which allows her to reroll fate points. She basically has a permanent blinding light, which doesn't have the downside in the Moonlight scenario, whatever that was called. And then she comes with heroic channeling.
Why doesn't it
strike?
Why doesn't it have the downside?
Oh, because she doesn't. She somehow doesn't illuminate. She provides the 6s to hit, but unlike Gandalf, she unlike the actual spell, she doesn't illuminate the area for some reason.
Oh, okay. That isn't written into the rule. I get it.
Yeah, so that's really strange because this thing is clearly bright here, and yet it's not there. So yeah, plus she gives -1 courage to enemies within 6 inches. So her spells are Fortify Spirit on a 2+, which is great at stopping magic. Banishment at 3+ with 12 inches, which is great at killing spirits. And Instill Fear, which is generally very good in cases where you're surrounded or where you want to push things off objectives. So just like Legolas, one of the big things about her is that she has a yellow or green alliance with everybody except Arnor and Numenor. So she's just very easy to drop in to any list. And so there will just be many situations where you're thinking, okay, I have my numbers, I have my heroes. What else do I need? What do I fear? Do I fear archery? Okay, Galadriel. Do I fear ring wraiths? Okay, Galadriel. Do I want another fighter who will potentially kill a wraith or give me general protection against stuff? Okay, Galadriel. So it's like, other than not being able to bring additional troops, there are really no downsides to her. And also her being Hero of Valor.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
That's a big one because she doesn't have to be your leader, and you generally don't want her to be your leader because she's only defense 3, and unlike the other Galadriel, she doesn't have heroic defense.
I mean, if I could say, it's probably the best profile in the game for the points, for what it does. It is. I mean, she has heroic strike too. So if she
Yeah.
gets into a situation where she has to fight someone, she can heroic strike at fight 6. She is just phenomenal for so many reasons. I mean, the auto blinding light that stays permanent without having to use a might point as well. Like that's something people don't take into consideration how valuable that is to have a 6-inch blinding light that you
No, I
never.
think we all take it into consideration.
Well, well, what I'll say is I think it gets overlooked on how insane without having to use a might point that is. Like people just go, oh, it's awesome that it's a 6-inch blinding light, but you can't take it away will wise. You know, like how if you exhausted Gandalf, for example, it goes away. This never goes away. It's
you don't have to cast it like with
Yeah.
with the Shadow Lord or Gandalf and stuff. You have to cast it if you don't get the initiative, someone charges into
and
you
that
can't
gives you
cast
another
it.
turn to
like
fortify
She
spear.
has it.
with Shadowlord, you activate it at the start of the movement.
Right.
I see.
But with Gandalf, the fact that you have to cast it means that if, let's say, you've just deployed somewhere in Maelstrom, and you're stuck, do I want to cast a transfix or a blast? Oh, what if someone shoots at me? Maybe I want this other thing. So the fact that you don't have to cast it is like,
Yeah. There's no resource drain to it. It
Yeah.
just comes with
So-
it.
And then the -1 to the courage. I mean, you combine that with certain
might as well
arms.
just throw it in. Yeah.
Yeah, it just,
Right.
just here you go. -1
Yeah.
courage, and not even 3 inches, 6 inches. So anything basically that could charge me, no. And with certain armies that we've talked about that have the ability to have terror, like Aura of Dismay kind of a thing. It's just against things like Goblin Town. Well, maybe not Goblin Town, but anything that has low courage and no way of enhancing it so that they auto pass. It's just the worst thing in the world to go against. And what I think people forget about is even if you went against an army that has no magic, so Fortify Spirit, and it doesn't have a spirit, so banishment's useless. For her to have instill fear every turn, just instill fear, instill fear, instill fear over and over again, because she can still do that. And then, fight 6 with 3 attacks. She is a troop killer. She absolutely
She's
is a
still
troop.
solid in combat when all of her other rules don't apply.
Yeah, everything about her, she's useful in every situation.
Yep. No, I think that's a hard agree from just about everybody.
Okay. Rainier, you're number 2.
So I actually almost had her in my number 2, but I decided to take her out basically due to my loyalty to Delmir. so I have Delmir on my number 2. I think first to start, you get a model that's less than 100 point. That's a hero of legend. Not just that, but what he can bring as a hero of legend, just a whole bunch of discounted troops that can do damage. Corsair Warrior, 7 points with Backstabber and throwing weapons. That's a steal. You can bring crossbows with him that have defense 6 when someone's shooting against them. That's a steal. You can bring Reavers who are really, really, really well pointed. Black Numenorians, just lots of things you can bring with him. But not just that, but his ability to be the general is one of the things that a lot of people forget about and underscore him for. I like allying him with Sulidan for the sole purpose of not having a weak general in Sulidan. And then now you don't have to treat Sulidan like a sweet puppy. You can throw him in like a grenade, basically. Of course, save his banner, but the cheeky wound isn't going to affect Sulidan. So to go over Dalmir's profile, he is fight 5, hits on 3s. Fight 5, hits on 3, strength 4, defense 4, 3 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 4. He has 2 might, 2 will, and 3 fate. His equipment is he has basically an elven cloak, so he's not going to be cheeky like wounded or anything like that when shooting. And he has smoke bombs and throwing weapons as well. So smoke bombs are like throwing weapons, but so they have a strength 1 hit. But when you throw it at someone, and if they do not give up a will point, right? If they do not give up a will point, then they are automatically transfixed as if it was channeled. So that's really good against monsters like cave trolls, Mordor trolls, things like that. Yeah, so he's just a really good model. He also has the backstabber rule. He rerolls all wounds in close combat as well. Yeah, heroic defense, heroic strike. So even if you have him in a position where he's gonna die, you can just heroic defense and he won't die. And he has ability also where he cannot be trapped while standing as well. So he just has quite a lot of bang for his little costs when it comes to his point wise. And I just love making him my general in most lists. I'll let him in with Mordor. You can spam a whole bunch of crossbows or just throw in weapon fight for models with the likes of Gothmog or Shagrat or even Shelob. You can throw him in with Sulidan. You can throw him in with the Betrayer. He's just really, really good for what he gets. So yeah, that's why I have him at 4 or at 2. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, Dalamir is. I mean, if you accept the fact that he's not there to fight heroes, he is a phenomenal general. I mean, the smoke bomb, like Rainier said, can really destroy any monsters that don't have might or will. Or I'm sorry, will. And even if you get to a hero who doesn't have will and you throw that smoke bomb, I mean, that's a huge thing as well, to have a channel transfix on them for not using. And it's a great way to make them lose their will as well. And then you consider the fact that he rerolls to wound with 3 attacks at fight 5. As long as he's fighting troops or low tier heroes, he's going to do a ton of damage. And then you combine that with the fact that even if he gets into situations, he's got 3 fate and 2 wounds. And again, he has the heroic defense, heroic strike combination. So if he wants to strike, he can. If he needs to defend, he can. And 2 will, again, you'd prefer 3, but you can't get everything in the profile. So he can kind of resist a couple things to make sure he can defend if he needs to. And he's a very solid profile.
Yep, we've talked about him recently, so I don't think I really have anything to add to that. But yep, good profile.
So number ones. Just get Lady of Light. It's just my number one's Lady of Light. I just think it's the best profile in the game.
All right. Well, I'll just go ahead. I'll just go ahead and move on. And mine also is Galadriel, Lady of Light, which is going to put her ahead with 4 votes. So yeah, I don't think.
Right, but like my number 1 is Sulidan. So
fine. Okay. Well,
you guys ready to hear the spicy thing? My number 1 is Sulidan too.
Oh no! All right, so Sulidan takes it with a sneaky 5-4 win over Galadriel, Lady of Light, who I think was robbed here. Frankly, I'm going to demand a recount.
Wait, how does Sulidan get 5 votes if there's only 4 of us?
That's an interesting question.
Okay, I voted for Sulidan. Matt voted for Sulidan. Okay.
I'm glad I demanded that recount.
We can only ever have a tie, so yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, so
wait, we have 4 for Lady of Light because I did not vote for Lady of Light.
Yeah, Lady of Light should only have 3.
So it should be 3-4.
All right, yeah, you're right. It's 3-4, and you know what happened?
Rainier decided to sabotage her.
Yeah.
Rainier decided not to put Rainier. I mean, I have to ask, why not top 5 at least?
Well, I had her in the list, and then like I felt like it was
men.
like, yeah,
I mean that's what it comes
I like
down
bad
to.
boys. What can I say? I like bad boys. What can I say?
I like bad boys.
No, yeah, because like I originally was gonna put her in, and then like the conversation turned semi to like what we bring personally. So that's when it switched, and I was like, okay, let me redo my list before the episode because I just don't play her, to be honest. I play against her all the time. I would agree with you guys. She's probably one of the top 3 models in the whole game. I wouldn't put her at number 1. I would put Sulidan, but I just don't play her.
Is there a model after listening to the list that you guys would change your mind and go, actually, I wish I put that in my top 5?
Well, for me, Gwayhair was always an honorable mention. And that was fighting for my my 5th slot. With the Lake Town Guard,
I think Guard of the Fountain Court. I almost put them in my top 5.
After listening to things, I really wish I had considered Legolas. I think I just forgot about Legolas, to be honest with you. Um, I would put them in. I would definitely put Legolas, I think, over Morainen's. Just because I mean, Legolas is just so good. And then the fact that, like Mick said, with him being able to be allied, and I definitely think Legolas now wins my number 5 if we could redo it, or in my top 5, I should say. He'd probably go up higher. So
It's a 2+ irresistible black dart ish with strength 3, but you have might, so it's even better.
I was surprised no one put the Witch King with all his customization.
I think the problem with the Witch King is he's very good at everything, but he's not exceptional at anything. Like he doesn't do so. Like he doesn't kill exceptionally well. He doesn't do magic. Like he does magic very well, but my problem with the Witch King is I look at other profiles and I go, okay, Gurrett's for his points, out of this world. Sulidan for his points, out of this world. Lady of Light for her points, out of this world. Gandalf the Grey for his versatility, really good. And then, like I mentioned, I'd probably switch to Legolas for his points. I think it's what do you get for your points? And you can make that argument, well, Witch King is very customizable, so you can choose for his points, but I think he gets like 6 or 7 on my list.
Yeah, I think the issue there is that the Witch King. I think the Witch King does a lot of things phenomenally well. The only issue is that you pay for that, right? Mm-hmm. I think the Witch King is an accurately pointed model, and you get what you pay for. As we've discussed on a number of these cases, particularly Sulidan and Galadriel, Lady of Light, you get more than you pay for.
Way more, yeah.
And that's really what kind of makes these models essential. And I mean, we've talked about this before, right? I mean, we talked about, kind of what makes I'm trying to think of how did we phrase it? What makes a slimy list or something like that?
Oh, the word was, how do you make a filthy?
Yeah, how do you make a filthy list? What makes a filthy list? And I think what we collapse down to is a filthy list is a list that incorporates a whole bunch of special rules and benefits that you don't have to pay for in the points of the models that make it up. And if you go through these models, I think the thread that kind of runs through them all is that they have abilities or things they can do to an army that really exceed the value of the points that you pay for the figure.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like you're going grocery shopping and you find things on discount, and then you show up to the house and your significant other's like, wow, like you spent too much money, and you're like, no, actually, like I was on budget. Look what I got. This was cheaper. This was cheaper. This was cheaper.
And I bet you if we made a top 10, all top 10 could easily be put in the top 5 if you really think about it. I mean, if we all made our top 10, every single one of those models is incredibly close to the next one above them. So it's just one of those things where you just have to choose what you think are the top 5. Yeah.
So at some point we'll need to do a duel between an army list made up of Sulidan, the Shadow Lord, and Gurrett's against an army list made up of Galadriel and Legolas and maybe Gwahir.
Shadow Lord's Sulidan list reminds me of what I was gonna take to Ardacon last year. So that's a really strong stab. That's right there after it got.
What do you guys? If you had to pick, and I know it depends on which army you build around it, what points value kind of thing. But what do you think is a better combo? Sulidan with the Shadow Lord or Lady of Light with Legolas? If you had to guess. They're both very strong.
I think it's actually Legolas with Galadriel because
I think so too.
That is the combination of you cannot shoot me versus I can punch through whatever shooting blocks you put up.
Yeah, and then Legolas too can like take out both Sulidan and the Shadow Lord. Yeah. So like the blinding light's negated. Sulidan's like bang first buck's kind of negated because he's the leader now, but he can get wounded really easily. So yeah, I'd agree with that too. And then
And then Shadow Lord's magic gets negated too.
All right. Let us know in the comment section below what your top 5 would be, and if you guys agree with most of what we're saying, and leave any lists as well for us to review. If you have any questions for future Q&As that we may do, leave those as well. And we hope you all have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.